Have you ever found yourself apologizing for something you know for a fact you didn't do? Or, maybe you walked away from a conversation feeling totally confused, almost like you're being invisibly manipulated. Well, let's dive into this, because chances are you aren't just imagining things. You might actually be encountering the unseen forces of psychological manipulation.
So, welcome to today's Explainer. We are unpacking Jonathan Mind's seriously eye-opening book, Dark Psychology. Just look at this image of a mind wrapped up in barbed wire. It perfectly sets the tone for what we're about to explore. We're going straight into the gritty, psychological anatomy of a predator to figure out exactly how malicious individuals detect, exploit, and control their targets. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, what exactly is dark psychology? Second, the 4 dark traits. Third, the manipulator's toolkit. And finally, identifying behavioral red flags.
All right, part 1. What is dark psychology? The art of mind control.
Dark psychology is officially defined as the art and science of manipulation and mind control. But here is the really fascinating distinction from our source material. See, 99.99% of people who cause harm, they do it for a rationalized purpose, right? Like money, power, or revenge. But dark psychology also studies that terrifying 0.01% of the population who brutally victimize others completely pointlessly. They cause harm purely for the sake of causing harm. Wild, right?
Moving right along to part 2, the 4 dark traits, the predatory mindset. For a long time, experts talked about the dark triad, but modern psychology has actually updated this and officially added a 4th trait, everyday sadism. So here's the breakdown. Narcissism is all about grandiosity and entitlement. Machiavellianism relies on deceit and manipulation. Psychopathy is marked by impulsivity and callousness. And sadism? That's driven by the sheer enjoyment of cruelty. Let's look a little closer at what makes these tick.
Take a look at this quote right from the text. It's incredibly revealing. We usually just think narcissists have really high self-esteem, right? But actually, they operate out of this perverse, twisted kind of self-esteem. They exaggerate their own importance to such a grandiose degree that they genuinely believe their needs totally eclipse yours. In their twisted logic, when they take advantage of you, they actually believe they're doing it for the common good. It's wild.
Now, the mindset of the Machiavellian represents a pretty chilling shift in empathy. A normal person uses hot empathy, meaning, we actually care about how others feel and we try our best not to hurt them. A Machiavellian, on the other hand, operates on cold empathy. They coldly, mathematically calculate your emotional reactions just to figure out their next move. But they are entirely detached from the emotional collateral damage they cause you. They understand your feelings perfectly well, they just literally do not care about them.
Then we have psychopaths, who completely lack a conscience. But here's the scary part. They wear this mask of manipulation, which makes them incredibly difficult to spot. They aren't all just movie villains hiding in the shadows. They walk right among us, perfectly mimicking normal outward appearances. They meticulously observe how other people react emotionally, and then they just put on a mask of normalcy. Sometimes they even appear incredibly charming while they're actively plotting their manipulation.
So a really crucial point here is understanding the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath. This is a massive misconception in everyday psychology. As our source clarifies, a sociopath is made by their environment, often through childhood trauma or a super chaotic upbringing. A psychopath, however, is born with these traits. Their lack of empathy is largely innate. It's hardwired from day one. Finally, we face the everyday sadists. These individuals aren't just causing collateral damage on the way to a goal, they are intrinsically motivated to ruin relationships and cause innocent people pain just for the absolute fun of it. The source points out a highly relatable modern example here, the internet troll. Trolls will log on and say absolutely horrible things just to enjoy the twisted thrill of getting a rise out of you and causing real emotional distress.
Okay, part 3, the manipulator's toolkit, weapons of coercion.
Let's look at how this builds step by step into one of the most lethal techniques out there, gaslighting. It doesn't just start with a massive, unbelievable deception. No, it starts with the manipulator telling a really small lie, like claiming they arrived on time when they were obviously late. The victim makes a small concession just to avoid conflict. Then the falsehoods start to escalate. Before long, the victim loses their grasp on their own reality, eventually believing that the truth is literally whatever the abuser says it is.
The exhaustion of being gaslighted takes a seriously heavy toll. If you find yourself constantly second-guessing your own memories, feeling fuzzy about your core beliefs, or if you're constantly apologizing for being mistaken, you might be a victim of this. Gaslighting is explicitly designed to make you question your own sanity so you become entirely dependent on the manipulator's twisted version of the world. Another absolute favorite tool in the kit is projection. This is where the manipulator transfers their own negative emotions and mistakes right onto you. Our source gives a perfectly relatable example. Imagine a boss who is chronically late, but suddenly he loudly accuses you of being tardy. By keeping you frantically on the defensive, defending yourself against totally baseless claims, they maintain total dominance and completely distract you from their own toxic behavior.
Then there's the truly chilling tactic of isolation. A manipulator will systematically drive a wedge between you and your entire support system. They might reignite old family conflicts or subtly smear your name at work. The goal here is terrifyingly simple. They want to cut off all your avenues of escape so that when the abuse inevitably escalates, there is absolutely no one left around to rescue you.
Manipulators also heavily weaponize basic psychology through reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is when they reward you for compliance. Think of an abusive partner buying you a bouquet of flowers the day after hitting you. They're silently saying, if you stay quiet, you get nice things. Negative reinforcement is a bit different. It's about removing a negative stimulus when you finally give in. Picture someone throwing a massive, embarrassing public tantrum that miraculously stops the exact second you agree to their demands.
And this brings us to traumatic one-trial learning. This is a singular, intensely terrifying event designed to shape your behavior forever. Imagine you calmly confront a colleague about not pulling their weight, and they react with an explosive, totally traumatizing rage. That singular experience completely conditions your brain. Boom. You learn instantly to never, ever confront them again, basically giving them a free pass for life.
All right, our final section, Part 4, Identifying Behavioral Red Flags, Spotting Toxic People. We all know what a lie of commission is, right? It's a blatant, outright falsehood. But the true manipulator heavily favors the lie of omission, what the source text calls exclusionary detailing. This is so diabolical. They tell the truth, sure, but they intentionally leave out the redeeming details of a story specifically to manufacture conflict. They feed you just enough accurate information to trick you into making a completely false assumption that ends up benefiting them. When they're finally held accountable, manipulators will cycle through a core list of defenses, everything from outright denial to guilt-tripping and shaming. They will always rationalize their bad behavior with a surprisingly convincing excuse. But even more insidious is minimization, specifically a tactic known as cognitive distortion. This is when they hurl a vicious, calculated insult right at you, but the second you get upset, they throw their hands up and claim it was just a joke, and accuse you of being way too sensitive, which completely invalidates your feelings.
And hey, if you try to hold them accountable, prepare for the total smoke and mirrors of evasion and diversion. The source text points out the sheer absurdity of this. You might simply ask your partner why they were late coming home, and instead of just giving you a straight answer, they totally divert the topic. Suddenly, you find yourself in a deeply confusing, heated argument about your mother with absolutely no idea how you even got there. As we bring this explainer to a close, I really want you to look at this stark reminder directly from our source text. The fact is that every single human being has the potential to victimize other people. These dark traits, they exist on a spectrum within all of us. But truly understanding this dark psychology is your ultimate armor against that fraction of the population that consciously chooses to weaponize it.
We've unmasked the predators, we've broken down their dark traits, and we've exposed their toolkit. So I'm going to leave you with this one final, absolutely crucial thought to reflect on today. Now that you know their playbook, who in your life is using it?